everybody, it's Colin here and welcome to my home office here in Melbourne. It's my little sanctuary where I get to think and to write and to kind of plan out the work that I've got ahead. My bags under my eyes today are courtesy of a Qantas long-haul flight from Spokane in Washington, where I was doing a speech last week back here to Melbourne. It's kind of one of those weird things where I left Melbourne at 9 a.m. in the morning on Tuesday morning and got to Spokane, having travelled for 23 hours at 2:30 p.m. on the same day. I just don't understand it, but my body felt it, let me tell you that. So I had the great pleasure to speak at a project management conference there. And probably the question that I get asked the most is, what books would I recommend? That's a total lie. That's a complete and utter lie. All right, the two questions that I get asked the most are, number one, if you're from Liverpool, why haven't you got a Liverpool accent? So let me just answer that straight away. Is the place that I'm from is actually kind of 8 miles east of Liverpool. It's still in the Liverpool boundary. We have this whole thing about whether I'm a Scouser or not. It's a place called Rainhill. It's famous for trains. So if you know a lot about trains and you know who you are, you'll have heard of Rainhill. It's a birth of passenger railways. Big up to the Rainhill Massive out there. Probably about 3 of you. So that's where I'm from. And we didn't really have a strong Scouse accent, but you learn to adapt it when you went into the city. But it comes out every now and again, particularly on stage. The accent will come out or I'll slip into something. The second question I get asked is, if you're from Liverpool, why don't you support Liverpool? Well, that's a really easy question to answer. Because if you're from Liverpool, you support Everton. If you're from Melbourne or Spokane or, I don't know, Hong Kong, Scandinavia, you support Liverpool. And yesterday was a great day in the Ellis household because Manchester City won the league and not Liverpool. And anyway, the third question that I get asked, let's get to the meat of this presentation, is what books would you recommend? Now I've got my next book, the project book, is coming out. Well, I actually received my copies in May, but it's out in the shops in July. There'll be a link down there somewhere or up there or around there if you want to pre-order your copy, which I'll sign for you. Is out in July. And you know, when I decided to write a book, what I realized that I had to do was to read lots of other people's books, to really find out what their view was and how my view differed. What I didn't want to do was just copy what somebody else had written. So, you know, particularly for my first couple of books, I read all of the project management books. Well, as many as I could lay my hands on, or as many that covered similar topics than the ones that I was covering. And you know, kind of took some ideas and developed my own ideas off the back of them, and then interspersed my own experience and my own thinking into it. And so I thought I'd share with you a book that I'm reading. So this new series is called 3 Things. If you've got something that you want to hear about, just let me know and I'll give you either 3 actions, I'll tell you 3 things about my daily life, or 3 things about a book that I've read. And today I'm going to talk to you about this book, which is Powerful by Patty McCord. Patty McCord used to be the Chief Talent Officer at Netflix. And lots of people around the world right now are talking about creating a Netflix culture. We want to be like Netflix. We want to be more like Netflix, which is awesome. You know, I think that it's great that organizations want to stretch their culture and evolve. I always add a cautionary note there is you can't be Netflix. You just can't, unless you're going to go into the, I guess, TV production business, in which case you may be Netflix. But you're going to have to work really, really hard. And you can't be Netflix. But what you can do is you can read books like Patty's book and take what they did and adapt it and say, okay, well, what would work here for our organization? Which ideas can we cherry pick, and then how can we kind of mold them to fit? Now, what you can't just do is lift and drop. A lot of people are doing that with the way that Spotify work at the minute, you know, and I joked about it in a blog last year, tribes, squads, neighborhoods, which are all awesome things, right? It's a great way to name your teams. But then if the teams don't have the intent, then you're literally just copy pasting Spotify's culture. And that's been proven to work no times ever. Anyway, so I really enjoyed Powerful by Patty McCord's book. What came through strongly for me is that, you know, if you want to be like Netflix, then you're going to have to get a little bit tougher. You're going to have to make sure you set expectation really well, and you're going to have to really push your teams forward. You know, and one of the things that Patty says in her book, and one of the things that she recommends that business leaders do, is regularly ask, are we limited by the team that we have not being the team that we should have? And so I think that's really interesting that you take a look at the people that you've got and the way that they're performing and say, is this the right team to get us to where we want to go? Now, important part of that is kind of creating, molding, allowing them to have a say in the culture, and I talk a lot about this, about building team culture, is you've got to create an environment where people feel that they've had a say. That makes it easier then to set expectation around behavior, around collaboration, about innovation, and you've created a vision that you can very much aim for. But then if people don't deliver, then you get rid of them. That's what Netflix do. If you want a Netflix culture, you're going to have to start getting tougher with people and move them on. Now, of course, you would do that with empathy. You would definitely do that with empathy. But another thing that Patty talks about in her book is a sense of nostalgia. And she said that nostalgia really inspires a resistance to change and fuels discontent. And we know that the yearning for the good old days, people often forget how bad the good old days were, to be perfectly honest with you. But it undermines growth. Patty talks about this. It holds teams back. It holds organizations back, this kind of wistful yearning for something that's past and something that's gone before. And the last thing that I learned was the best employers are always looking for challenging new opportunities. So you've got to make sure that the culture is as good as it can be in order to retain the people. Just simply turning the handle and staying the same isn't good enough. So that's my 3 things that I learned from Patty McCord's book, Powerful, Building a Culture of Freedom and Responsibility. Available from all good bookshops and some rubbish ones too. See you later.